Now, the rest of the story.
That seems really short for some reason. So 27 bales later, which some of that was self-inflicted, I got the baler running right. So what I've been dealing with are electrical gremlins. And it didn't really take me too long to figure out what was going on, but thinking back, and it's similar to last year, that's the first perfect bale I've made today. When I say perfect, I mean it's the first bale that wrapped like it was supposed to without me having to get out and raise the net wrap shield. The shield that covers the back end of the baler, where the net wrap sits, it's got a built-on bar brake in it. And what can tend to happen is on a new roll of net wrap, which I put a new roll in, seems how I'm baling for Dad and Ryan, the first few bales, they tend to not want to start feeding right away. I mean, just because it's a new roll and it's been sitting, and you run 2 or 3 bales through it and it's fine. So 27 bales later, obviously it was not fine, and I was getting all sorts of goofy stuff from the monitor. Basically, it all boiled down to this multi-slotted plug that comes out the back of the baler that goes from the monitor to the plug on I doubt you guys can hear that, but I got a funky noise going on. Oh, that can't be good. Make that 2 decent bales. That's the second bale. Actually, that's the first bale that I made today where I didn't have to get out and check it to make sure it even wrapped. The noise I heard, I think it was just some grass that was in behind the belts. Really not that big of a deal. I went from alfalfa to oat seeding to pasture grass. And then I gotta go from this back to the new seeding, which is oats. It's not overripe oats, it's not quite straw, but it's past when we really should have had it cut. So with that plug being full of just dirt and dust, the covers that actually are supposed to be on it are kind of messed up, as in translation is they no longer are usable. I think I need to see if I can't get those or start putting tape or something over them, because that's all that is. It's just from sitting in the machine shed, and the baler plug it gets dust that settles down in it, and it took the air hose and the electronic cleaner did a pretty good job at it. And the plug that comes out the back of the tractor, which is on this tractor year-round, I don't take any of the stuff out of the tractor. It's been a while since I've actually had to clean that plug off. So we had electrical gremlins when we first got this baler, because I plugged it into the cab plug. So this cab plug doesn't have heavy wires on it. So after you make 20 to 25 bales, not even 25, it was like 20, it started to get a little goofy where the monitor just things weren't looking right on the monitor. I was getting low voltage a lot, and then even by the 24th bale, it just flat out wouldn't wrap. What all boiled down to, the wiring in the tractor that the tractor comes with from the factory is too light. So what happens is the wire gets hot, and then the proper amount of voltage isn't getting back to the baler, and it won't run that actuator properly. 13.5 volts. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to remember that offhanded. I think it's 13.4 volts. That's the thing about these Deere balers. They are very particular. They need that 13.4, not 13, not 13.1, but 13.4. So that can be kind of a nightmare trying to address that. Somebody did ask me about a similar issue they had with the John Deere baler, and I believe it was a New Holland tractor, and they said the same thing. They're having actuator issues, and that's all it was. You can get a wiring harness from your local John Deere dealer, and they will set you up with a wiring harness that's got the heavier wires on it, and then you run that directly from the battery to your plug. The only disadvantage to that is unless you're going to drill down through the cab or whatever you really decide that you want to do. I really didn't want to go that crazy with it myself, so I just ran it up through the back port on the tractor, and I get my power there. I think any mechanic will tell you that. Electrical gremlins, just, you're hoping it's something as simple as your ground, your power source, or plugs, right? Because even for me, I didn't need to shut that off, by the way. But even for me, what I worry about is having to tear your wiring harness apart, and you have to start tracing for a broken wire, you know, just from vibration or whatever else like that. It happens. That old chopper of my grandpa's, I remember we had to tear apart the wiring harness going down the tongue on that just to find, and it was a, what are the chances that's going to roll into the creek? It was a frayed wire. The insulation on it had vibrated, rubbed through, and I believe it was for turning the spout. Well, for that one, it was either turning the spout or raising and lowering the head. So, really glad that I didn't cut more hay. I know that's kind of crazy to say. This stuff is first cut. It's not a very big pasture, it's like 3 acres. But for only having one cut on it, and I'm already at 3 bales, I'll probably end up, what, 5 or 8. But it's worth it because this building here, I stack hay in it anyway, so it's nice being able to make the grass that's here and get something out of it. One thing that really didn't feel like it was worth it was all the hay that I just made. 27 bales is what I made up to now, and that includes the stuff that I was cutting when I was talking to you guys last time, when I was cutting that second cut alfalfa and a bunch of new seeding and some second cut alfalfa of my dad's. 27 bales. The only problem is I had a few of those. I guess I can't say it's 27 bales because I know the monitor wasn't it wasn't reading every bale I was making because of the electrical gremlins. I made an oversized bale on it. That was probably a good thing that it happened, because you kind of go down the list of things that could be as it's happening. And outside of the net wrap, my indicator bars on the monitor, it's got, you know, the 2 rows of lights that tell you how evenly you're filling the baler. Well, I overfilled the baler. It was light material, so I was doing a lot of turning, and after a while you start to kind of get dizzy, and I haven't eaten since noon yesterday. My stomach's been in knots and appetite just hasn't been there. So you got that, plus the fact that I had to get out for the first 27 plus bales and had to manually open the end gate to make sure that pressure wasn't there because if the end gate was open and the brake wasn't on it, then it would wrap it just fine. And then I finally got irritated enough where I just quit shutting the back door, which is kind of what holds that, what's holding that roll of net wrap in there, which is why I really didn't want to do it. And then it started wrapping just fine doing that. So telling me it really wasn't getting enough power to, it was getting enough power to run the net wrap, but not enough power to actually run it, like run it properly. Same thing with those indicators. It was flashing that it was full and it was wrapping, and the indicators weren't even on. Like, I was only having one light on each side, and I had an oversized bale back here, because finally I realized, after going around and around as many times as I had, I kind of started to question as to how long it's been since I had made a bale up to that point, and I was right at that red oversized bale indicator, so at least I didn't destroy the baler. Because what can happen is, if you keep making a bale, once the baler, which it didn't tell me that it even had an oversized bale, what can happen is you can destroy your latches that hold the end gate shut. And let me tell you, I probably wasn't too far away from that, because I was getting ready to start in on the heavy material that I had to make. So crisis averted. And after cleaning that plug out, both ends of the plug, and it's been working great since. So straightforward, simple-ish fixes. The reason I didn't drive all the way back home, because I was out at my brother's place, so you're talking 2 or 3 miles. The reason I didn't drive all the way back to the home farm to get my tools, because I didn't have a four-wheeler at the time. I didn't have a ride. I just suffered through it for the last, what was it, 4 or 5 bales. So, the electrical problems with these deers, they're not fun to deal with, but we've at least been able to avoid it being anything like having to actually replace that actuator on the back. So far it's all just been wiring issues, and if I would have had to take a meter to it, that would have figured it out pretty quick too. If I would have went back on that actuator and had somebody hit the wrap button, I almost 100% certain it wasn't getting the full volts that it needed. So at least we can be happy about that. I can go through, blow the baler off with the air hose probably tomorrow, because they're calling for rain tonight, and I'm pretty much completely, I'm zapped, tired. And tomorrow I'll go through, I'll grease this again, hit it with the air hose, which, using the air hose to clean equipment off, I wish I was taught to do that growing up, as opposed to hitting it with the pressure washer every time you wanted to clean it off, because all the pressure washer did is it blew all of the dirt from over there, and then it would blow it over to this side of the baler, so you were chasing it back and forth. At least with air, it doesn't tend to drop back onto the baler and stick to the baler. And this is one of those machines, absolutely, without a doubt, where it's a no-nonsense, just clean it off. Hit it with the air hose after every use, because that material starts building up and it starts getting hard, say if it does get a little bit of moisture on it, and the last thing you want on these is rust to form on your smooth surfaces, or especially for the net wrap. And having the baler cleaned off like I do, like greasing it and basically going through it, fully going through it every time we use it, made it pretty painless to figure out that it was just that plug that was giving me issues. I mean, didn't really have a whole lot of dirt in it, but that's all I've done to it was clean it out, and we're back to working like we should be. One last thing in regards to that is looking back at the last stuff we made, which was down in the valley, the net wrap issues as far as getting it started, I'll give it a free pass on when you first started doing it, like the first bale or two, because then it would generally start running. Like down at the valley, it would take probably 5 or 6 bales. Cause I went through a roll and a half of net wrap down at the valley. Because one roll covered 120 bales because I was putting on 4 wraps to a bale. Because I'm handling it so much. And I think that was the beginning of my problems. It was just gradually getting worse and worse. And when this plug is exposed on the back of the 76, like when we were out cutting brush and cutting hay and stuff like that, you kick up dirt and it just collects. And it finally got bad enough to where it caught my attention. Albeit maybe not in a fun way, but at least everything I've made up to this point is cow feed, so even the bales that only have about a wrap and a half on them, they're getting fed to the cows, so it's not the end of the world. But do I like making perfect bales every single time? Absolutely. That one's kind of lopsided, but I was also distracted talking to you guys. Oh, that, I have about 10 more bales to make across 3 more farms. Yeah, I know, it was a very much a going through and cutting this, that, and everything else because, hey, it'll make a few bales, and second cut is alarmingly short. And I didn't realize the moisture in the area was as tight as it is. Yes, I know that, I mean, we were dry. Our crops are doing pretty good because we got 1.8 inches. I don't think it was the last storm we had, about a week ago. And that's what's really carrying our crops at home. But then you go a little ways up the road or down the road or east or west, and the corn is rolling. So I didn't quite realize that things were getting that tight. So, oh well, what do you do? With that, I'm gonna start doing some hill climbing. If you guys like what you're watching and want to keep supporting the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more content, or at least to keep getting updates on the videos that I do end up getting posted, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.